events of the indoor season, because this is the only, you don't run these outdoors. You do a couple of times, you'll have some of those events like the Penn relays or the Texas relays where you might run a DMR, but this is actually one that is a feature of the NCAA Indoor Championships. And he loved getting an opportunity to mix it up. We got a 400 runner, you get your middle distance in there, all running in tandem, all running in a relay. It's great when you have somebody who's typically a miler and you got to, work on your exchanges once again. Like you forget about doing that sometimes when you get into college and, maybe you're more of a, 1,500 meter runner, 3K runner, and you don't do a ton of exchanges. So it's a great opportunity to mix things up. I think it makes the indoor season really interesting. I also loved racing this as the opportunity as a distance runner to feel like you get that team dynamic. You have that team dynamic in cross country. Of course, track and field is a team sport, but you feel it more so when you're working together in a singular event like you have the DMR. And certainly this track has been one to produce some incredible DMR marks.
Laura, maybe the common inquiry when this event takes place, but can you explain kind of your perspective on this first leg, the 1,200, right? Kind of a tricky distance and how you approach it.
I'm a terrible person to ask because I once lost count of my laps in a 1,200.
Oh, no.
Because I was running the 1,200 leg, and it was on a 200-meter track. So I thought I had one lap to go. So I started a kick, and I, in fact, came around the turn. I had no teammate standing there to receive the baton, and quickly had the
dreadful feeling.
Oh, shoot moment of I'm going to have to gut out another 200. But
6 laps is a lot to keep count of, to be fair.
Well,
6 whole laps.
Well, it's a fun challenge, though, because it's a great debate that you have, in coaching of, is an 800 runner stepping up to run a 12? Is it a miler who's dropping down, who wants a little bit of speed work, who has some decent leg speed? I love the 1,200. It's a very interesting challenge. I also loved, in the Big Ten, one of the things that's relatively unique is the conference meet. You have a 600, and I loved the 600. I thought this is such a weirdly intriguing event, right? To run 3 laps on a 300-meter track or 2 laps on an oversized track that you have here with this, type of Dempsey setup. Looks like we have, just to get everyone up to speed on the teams competing here, that's TCU out front with hip 1. Tabitha Nagao on the lead leg. We have Western Washington, Oregon State, Oregon State, Oregon State. So 3 teams being fielded by Oregon State: UC Riverside, Idaho, Portland State, Seattle, North Texas, and Seattle Pacific. And for North Texas, that's Betty Bajika, who we saw earlier in this meet, AJ.
She had a nice run in the, I think it was the 3,000, I believe. TCU leads the way, followed by Oregon State. Maya Beechler for the Beavers. Western Washington there as well. Sophie Wright following in Gout. .800 leg up next.
And one of your, biggest responsibilities as the lead leg is to stay in contact, is to make sure you put your team in a position to challenge when you hand off that baton. Do whatever it takes to be able to do that. And You always feel like that there's a little motivation, an added motivation when someone else is counting on you to set them up, right? That it's not just your own race that you're running. You have the responsibility for those other 3 legs that are following you, but right now it has been all TCU.
So a lap to go here for the first legs.
The other thing about a 300-meter track that's interesting, there are some various handoff points with the exchanges because on a 200
Yes.
you're on a 200 track you're handing it off in the same position every time. This it's a little bit different. So as you're seeing this view, this wider view of the track, you're going to see that there are legs positioned in a couple different spots around the track because of the varying exchange points. Here you go right here.
Well done, 1200 there, 322 at the handoff. TCU in great position at the first exchange. On the 800 now.
Second leg for TCU. Kalaya Danian.
And a huge lead to work with upon receiving that baton.
And wasted no time building that lead, too. Here's one more exchange here on the backstretch. Look at how close. Look at how much she has gained on the back of the pack here.
So this takes some mental discipline when you get a lead like that. And you're only on the second leg. Have the intensity you want to run
and they're not
with.
in position.
Wow.
Oh. That was a little bit of a chaotic
400,
exchange there.
Yeah. Wow.
They did a great job, though, to recover from that. It didn't look like she was quite ready to receive the baton. I believe that's Georgia Scott running on the third leg. But she kept her composure really well. I was a little afraid for them that they weren't going to get that exchange successful.
TCU already on their 800 leg. Solid 4 there from Danian. It's TCU and everybody else right now.
There is so much that can happen. That mile leg in a DMR is long. A lot of things can transpire over that distance. So that's why you can just never get comfortable. With your legs 2 and 3, you've got to build as much as you can.
TCU's seat time about 30 seconds faster than Western Washington entering the meet, but you don't know what kind of DMR squads have been put together over the course of what still is a relatively young season.
Yeah, because you're still seeing really coaches try to gauge, all right, let's figure out where athletes are to this point in the season and, where you're going to put certain people. So often in a meet like this, you have athletes who probably ran or are going to run tomorrow in other events. So you're trying to stack a few races under their belts, maximize the type of competition and work you're going to get in a situation like this.
Yeah. You think Emily Venters needs any more reps?
Wouldn't surprise me if she came out tomorrow. What could she possibly? Could she can rabbit a mile tomorrow?
Yeah. Put her in charge of that. Anastasia Gonzalez, the final leg here for TCU. Starting her mile.
They will have a pacer for the mile. It won't be Emily Venters, though. So you'll...
Well, that's fair.
Yeah. For TCU, Anastasia Gonzalez running that anchor leg. This is a great test of discipline when you're in a DMR and you take the baton with as commanding of a lead as we've seen from TCU. So she's now still 4 laps to go. I mentioned it's a long mile for that anchor leg.
I think this is TCU's. No, this is their. Done a couple DMRs before. 12:03 is their fastest DMR this season.
And just an indication of how competitive this event is. To get into the NCAA meet last year, it was 10:52.0. And it's also, I mean, we've seen almost every year a new collegiate record. Last year, the Washington women set a new collegiate record in the DMR. They did that out in Boston, that, famously fast track that they have, that was Chloe Forrester, Anna Terrell, Marlena Prey, and Carly Thomas to run 10:43.39 to set a new collegiate record. So you have the fastest team in the country that has the fastest time ever run in the NCAA, and just the curve, right? You think about the old bell curve and what that sets for, the rest of the field of competition. This is one of those events that I feel like each and every year just gets tougher and tougher and tougher to make the NCAA meet. And right now, what toughness TCU has put on display with the way they've put together these 4 legs of competition, all really well set up by that opening leg when they had a commanding lead. But that second leg, so impressed with the run that we saw from Danian to extend it. It was a short leg. She made the most of it.
Top DMR this year, Wisconsin 11:16. Princeton following close behind 11:17. See what TCU can put on the board here today after their last DMR about a week ago. Gonzalez trying to finish this in good form. Coming up on the final lap. The bell lap at 10:16. It's probably going to be a low 11 effort, partner. Yep.
Here's the thing, too, about running the anchor leg is your response immediately. You hear the bell and you want to just start into your kick, right? You want to, but 300 meters is a lot, right? So you want to start to accelerate, but you want to do it gradually over that final lap. Because if you go too soon, you're not going to be able to finish with the type of strength that you want.
Gonzalez onto the front stretch, right at 11 minutes. Strong effort from TCU today. This might be the top in the nation this year. TCU comes to Seattle, and it looks like that's the top time, 11:13.91. Top DMR time in the country this season. Let me clarify that. That was the top qualifying time last year. I beg your pardon. Difference
okay,
there.
I was going to say, I have them, however, based on what I see, I believe that's the 6th fastest time so far this season. That would put them just behind the University of Kentucky and just ahead of the University of Washington. The Wildcats of Kentucky have run 11:11. The Badgers 11:16. So 11:13. A tremendous run from them.
At the wrong T-first tab up, but it's
All good. I was here for you. I had your back.
the I mean, compared to last year, yeah, that would have been top heading into to nationals. So very well done there for TCU. They're putting up a nationally relevant mark there.
And a gutsy way to do it. I mean, 90% of that was solo. Oftentimes when you see those really impressive DMR marks, they come from a handful of meets, right? You'll see, the top 4 or 5 will all be from the same meet or whatever it might be. So to